Good evening. Welcome to the Caribou City Council meeting of February 23rd. First on the agenda, public input. Anybody from the council?
Is there a public hearing as well on the ordinance?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
So you can wait for
When
that.
the ordinance comes up is when they'll want us to talk?
You can
Or is it
speak.
now?
No, you can, if it's a public hearing, number 5,
Number 5.
yeah, you can speak then. We'll ask for input then also.
Thank you.
Anyone in general have anything to address for the council? Okay. Item number 2, declaration of conflicts of interest in the city council regarding any agenda items. Seeing none. Number 3, consider authorizing the minutes of the following meetings: a council workshop on February 5th and a council meeting on February 9th.
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
boy.
I was going to say on the council meeting for February 9th, you have, Robbie Jondra listed as the site director at Sitel. There needs to be a correction. It's Robbie Jalbert. That was what I was going to say too. Jalbel.
Didn't even see it. Didn't get it.
Bert. Okay.
Any other comments?
I'll amend that so moved with the corrections.
There's a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Consent agenda, approval of a quit claim deed, manager.
That's for the high bidder for the BAT 15 lot 49 that was placed out to bid as tax acquired property.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion to authorize the quit claim deed for the property, map 15, lot 49. Any discussions? All those in favor? Number 5, public hearing on an ordinance regarding the sale of city property. I'll open the public hearing at 6:02. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Mr. St. Peter?
My name is Philip St. Peter. My wife and I own the property at 7 Hatch Drive called Caribou Office Park. And it looks like your agenda is kind of short, so I can take an extra minute.
Go ahead.
I want to give you a little history on the building and the story. 40 years ago, there was an urban renewal project going on in Caribou. Some of the buildings that you see downtown in the center of town were built during that time. I was involved in a couple of them, and there was a partner in I, Euchre Patrick, that built the human services. And the way it happened was I walked in his office one day, and he said, "There's a chance to bid on the human services in Caribou Prescal, and let's bid it." Probably should have turned around and walked away right then, but I didn't. So what they were doing at that time, Human Services had offices in Fort Kent, Caribou, Prescal, and I think Houghton. They had one in Houghton, but I'm not sure about Fort Kent. Anyways, what they were going to do was they're going to combine the Caribou and Prescal office. So we bid the thing, and we were low bidder. They wrote us back a letter and said, get the documents ready and prepare to build a building. At that time, the property that's in question right now, the parking lot that's in front of Caribou Office Park, all the way to Summer Street, was free. There was nothing there, no buildings or anything. Human Services had bought all that Urban Renewal had bought all that property. So it was free all the way. If you were on Hatch Drive, you could see Summer Street. So they wanted us to build the building there. Human Services said, well, we got delayed, and we got delayed, and we got delayed. The state didn't send us a letter. Come to find out, Prescal had been sending a delegation down to Augusta to try to get the building in Prescal. We didn't know that. We didn't really care. We weren't out to get jobs in Caribou as much as we were thinking about ourselves. So anyways, we finally found out that it was Presque Isle that was causing the delay. So we got Don Collins at that time was a state senator, and we got a hold of him and he got it straightened out in no time. Then we were awarded the bid. I know a few people know Dana Connors. He's president of the Chamber of Commerce of the state of Maine. At that time, he was city manager in Presque Isle. Well, I got to know Dana pretty well because he started getting in touch with us to build that building in Presque Isle. So we thought about it. We were going to build it in Riverside Park. There was something that's behind the main street. Anyways, where the courthouse is now. Anyways, you and I were both good Caribou citizens, so we decided we ought to build it in Caribou. So we did. So we told it was either Urban Renewal or the City of Caribou. I can't remember. I remember this is 35 years ago. But I said, we need 35 or whatever parking. They said, we'll take care of the parking. You give us $10,000, we'll give you the land that you need to build the building. So we built it. That's how we happened to have that building. That's why it's where it is now, and that's why there's 65 parking spaces in front of it. We brought 80 employees to Caribou that could have gone to Presque Isle. It almost did, I'll be honest with you. And those jobs are still in Caribou today after all these years. The building may not be used for DHHS, but DHS is still in Caribou. That's the way it is with the state. Once they get set up in a town, they'll stay there. Another thing, about 35 years ago, Workers' Comp approached me, and we gave them a space at One Bond Place. They're still there today. Probably not a big outfit, 7 or 8 employees, but at least they've been here for 35 years. In fact is, we just mailed back to them a lease for the next 5 years. But we're all set there. About that time, of course, we owned One Bond Place. It was my brother and I, actually. There was an outfit in Fort Fairfield called AMHC that was just starting up as an organization. I don't know if you people remember that or not. But Bob Vickers was the first president. A guy named John Thibodeau was an important guy. They approached us. They wanted the space. We gave them the space. They rent at least a whole floor or maybe a little bit more at One Bond Place. There were probably more people working in that building than all the places in town, you know, downtown Caribou, AMHC. What I guess what I'm trying to tell you there is those jobs really didn't cost Caribou any money. Now, there's a kind of a little argument that we were offered that land 3 times, and 3 times we refused. Well, yes, well, that's correct. The first time they wanted us to buy the land, the price was $44,900. That was for that 090 parking spot or whatever that lot is. That was both sides. Anyways, couldn't see paying that kind of money for it, so we refused it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess we refused it. The second bid was offered was $1. But in the meantime, we heard that it costs the city $50,000 to remove snow in Caribou every year. Does that sound right?
In all of the downtown parking lots.
You know, I figured the one we had probably cost $15,000 or $20,000. It's a very poorly shaped parking space for snow removal. It's got some teardrops in it there and stuff. You have to go around them. And I can see where you'd want to get rid of it. But I figured, well, it's going to cost $15,000 minimum for me to remove the snow in that lot. I got to do something. So I figured I should rearrange the parking a little bit so it's easy to park. So what I wanted to do was eliminate all the parking that exited Hatch Drive. You got to try to picture that, and have everything exit Washburn Street. Anyways, what was involved there? A little bit of work. I asked the city to do 3 or 4 things. I wanted them to remove 266 feet or 181 pieces of granite curbing, and then to reinstall 183 feet. Didn't think that was a big deal. Removed 10,188 square feet of hot top. This hot top was 35 years old. When you think of 10,000 square feet today, an average home being built is 2,000 square feet. That's the size of 5 houses. I mean, it can't be that big a deal for the city to do. There was a couple of grass areas where there's teardrops were. I wanted them to remove those. And there was a little sidewalk, which you're going to need, I guess, now, that goes from Hatch Drive to the theater area. There's a little driveway there. Remove that. I also asked, and I guess this was a stickler, but for not to increase my taxes down there for 10 years. You weren't collecting taxes. I didn't think that was a big deal. And what was going to happen to me was I was going to lose, well, all the parking spaces was going to go from 65 to 42 parking spaces. So anyways, they said, no, we're not going to invest any more money in downtown Caribou. I actually heard that comment right here. I said, okay, fine. They turned me down. Well, anyways, a couple years later or whatever, I was talking to Austin, and he said they were talking, that was going to cost $50,000 to do the work that I asked them to do, $50,000. So I said, no, that's not right. It couldn't have cost that much. Well, he said maybe $40,000. Remember that at all? Okay, you don't remember it. You don't remember. That's why. It's been a while. Anyways, I went and met with Joan, and I said, how much was that figure going to be? You know, because it kind of surprised me when he mentioned that number. It told you. She said, it was a big number. It was a big number. I said, well, how much? She says it was either $125,000 or $150,000. I had already, of course, when I was working this out, I had already gotten prices on that. I went over with a couple contractors on what I wanted done. I got a price from Karen out of Presque Isle for that same amount of work. He gave me a price of $12,000. $12,000. Mike Willett and Daughters, you know them. They gave me a price of $7,500.
Did that include new hot top?
That was no hot top. I called Chipper Sheldon in Lane, and he gave me a price estimate. He didn't go down and measure. $15,000. I was going to furnish that. The seeding and looming and seeding, I was going to seed the area there. $2,500. The only thing that I was going to ask you to take care of was that what it cost me was $12,500 or $7,500 for Mike. But I don't blame you for turning it down if somebody gives you an estimate of $150,000 to do that little bit of work. You didn't give them that estimate, did you? Oh, okay, just checking.
I don't either. I just remembered hearing that number and then 50,000 and then 100, and there were numbers thrown out there all over. Then
But when he mentioned 50,
50.
I said, something's wrong here somewhere, because I know, I had these figures. I had these figures before I approached you. If I knew what I knew now, I'd have probably said, I'll take care of the darn thing. Anyways, like I said, I was going to lose some parking spaces, but that's okay. I didn't know. It was going to be a straight run down there, parking on both left and right. Okay, the third time, I come over and seen the city manager and told him I was interested. I was getting a little nervous. This is a year and a half. I didn't know anything about what's going on today. So anyways, I said, I'm interested now. I said, could I buy it? And I was thinking about protecting myself. So he said, I'll get back to you. So he got back to me shortly, and I don't remember the figure. I'm thinking it was 4,200, and my son tells me it was like 7,200. I couldn't remember. So anyways, when Austin told me the number, I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 4,200 or 7,200, whatever the figure was, but I want the Albert parking lot with it. Do you know what I mean when I say the Albert parking lot? Anybody, everybody know where the Albert parking lot was? Okay. Do you know where it was? Well, it's, you know where the the kitchen and bath shop is? It would be there, right? You know, that, where the igloos are?
Yep, yep.
So that's I call it the Albert parking lot, because we called it that for years. So he said, okay, oh, sounds good, I'll take that. So
I
I
would
said,
take that to the council.
okay, so anyways, he said, a couple of days later, he called me up and he said, could you meet with Sam Collins and me in your office? Remember that? You gotta remember that.
Yep, because you had said that you would do whatever we needed to do to make Sam Collins happy on that.
No, I never even mentioned Sam Collins. Why would I mention Sam Collins?
Because of the kitchen and bath store.
No, I never did. I never said Sam Collins. That was something between Sam and I. I never mentioned Sam. You mentioned him. Anyways, I go to his office, 9 o'clock or whatever it was in the morning, and there was Sam and my nephew, Kurt St. Peter. Everybody know Kurt? Anyways, they gave me 8 or 10 reasons why I couldn't buy it. So he said, it's not for sale. Okay, good enough. That was the third time you people said I turned it down. Did I really turn it down, or did you turn it down?
We said that we would not sell the Albert parking lot, but the business office park was still for sale.
And I said, I just walked out. Because I figured I know where I stand. Now, some of the things that we talk about, I heard about it from you people, was you got this great big parking lot out back. I mean, what the hell do you need the one up front for, you know, basically? Okay, let's give you an example. Let's say Peter Kelly, who rents from me, somebody from New Sweden called him and said, I got to see you, you know, what a matter. Could you see me? Peter said, sure, come on down. Where are you? I'm at 7 Hatch Drive, but park out back. That's a heck of a way to run a business. So, anyways, I did make mistakes not buying this property, but I think I made a couple of bigger mistakes. And the first one was, should have built it in Presque Isle. That's my first mistake. And the second mistake was, can't remember, I should have walked out of Yucca Patrick's office when he wanted me to bid with him. That's all I have, and I'm sorry to bore you with it, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about the history of the darn thing.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Clinton St. Peter. I'm the son of Phil and Janice St. Peter. I have something prepared that I've written. I'd rather look down and read it. Last time I was up here, I was a bundle of nerves, so I just soon, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and read it. Some thoughts I had on the ride down here from my office up the street was, how is even the 17 spaces we're getting left with even fair compared to 65 spaces? Okay, how is that even fair? And if we sat down and agreed to all this 3 months ago or what have you, maybe I would have no business standing here. But I feel, I really still don't know to this day really what's going on, where things are at, and I don't really understand why that it has to be like that. You know, how come, is this actually a public hearing? Was this advertised in the paper as a public hearing on this matter? Is it required to have a public hearing? Is it not required? I mean, I really don't know. I'm going to start to learn. I've learned about different businesses in my lifetime because I've had to. And I think that maybe I'm going to learn a little bit more about how cities are run and ordinances, because I really don't know for sure, to be honest with you. And I'm not going to sit here and claim that I do, but I just want to tell you that was one of my thoughts. And just it'll be in here, and I'll say it again, I guess. But for if this was ever considered to go to a third party, this piece of land, we would have paid whatever for the land. It would have been a non-issue. Any time this was looked at, it was to be retained by the city. We were never threatened with a third party. The entire town got threatened by a notice in the paper that these parking lots all went out to public bid and put everybody's knickers in a knot, and everybody made a stand down here at city council and said, you know, that was going to happen because somebody from New York was going to come by it and put up gates and charge for parking, and it was going to be a big problem downtown. So those are just some of my thoughts. I probably have them written again in here, but I'm going to just go over this. And as I said, my name's Clinton St. Peter. I'm the son of Phil and Janice St. Peter, the owners of Caribou Office Park. We've been citizens of Caribou for our entire lives. Our family has contributed to this community for over 40 years in commercial real estate market, always paying our fair share. Caribou Office Park was initially built to house the State of Maine Department of Human Services, as my father has informed you. My father had other communities pursuing him at the time to locate a facility with high-paying jobs in their town. My father and mother had faith in Caribou and in the city agreed to provide them a parking lot to facilitate the structure, as this was a tremendous asset to the city of Caribou. These high-paying jobs have remained in our community initially thanks to my parents and Hugh Kirkpatrick, I'll throw out. We found out about the possible sale of public parking lots in our local newspaper as a headline. Is this how we treat our deep-rooted, long-term taxpayers of Caribou? And when I found this in a headline, I called Austin and made an appointment. I'm going to get off track. And went down and seen him. And the article actually in the paper had nothing to do with the sale of public parking lots, which was kind of surprising. It was headlined that way, but there was no specifics on anything. I didn't have a clue. I had no clue this was impacting our family or anything at the time. But anyways. So, impacting our family. I feel you are impacting our family as you are selling public land adjacent to and servicing this building. If we would have known you were considering selling this land to a third party, not retaining it as an asset to the city, we surely would have stepped up and purchased the property. Do you not think we should have been offered first refusal on this piece of property? Do you not think we should have been involved in the selection process of proposed parking options as it directly impacts our facility and only ours, at least that parking lot? Is this the way our elected leaders or paid employees want to conduct business with the taxpayers of Caribou without transparency? We have been unfairly kept in the dark throughout this entire process. Did you not think you owed us at least a phone call to inform us? You all have tunnel vision on something new and possibly temporary instead of protecting what you have had for over 40 years and is here to stay. The negative impact that you have proposed will surely be felt by our tenants as well as the value of the building. Why do I feel I'm up here fighting with the very same people that we pay money to? In the business world I grew up in, I conducted business with different clients and vendors, and we helped each other out. It was good for both parties. If not, we parted company and went our separate ways. Is this what you would prefer, to drive existing business and taxpayers out of town to accommodate your own agenda? I commend all of you for bringing new jobs to Caribou. However, I am disappointed in the manner in which you conduct business secretly behind closed doors as to not inform impacted parties as to your intentions to be sure we can all get along, be good neighbors, and continue supporting our community. So I have heard your intentions are to retain 17 parking spaces in front of the building instead of the 65 available to us now. Does this number even make sense? There surely were other options that would have less impact on the facility. Our family is responsible for property taxes and payments in lieu of taxes to the sum of approximately $100,000 a year, excluding vehicle registrations and personal property taxes. My parents have been an asset to this community for many years. Anyone who has known them through the years, I'm sure, would share with you the type of people they are, respectable. Have they not earned your respect? People come and go from this city, including public officials, as I'm sure you're all aware. Other people are here to stay, and we are always left piecing back the voids as people vacate or decisions which are made without consideration for deep-rooted people in the community. My intent in life is to carry on my parents' legacy in this community. How many battles will I have to fight? At what point do I get tired of fighting against the very same people that are supposedly my allies? I have always been extremely proud to be from Caribou. I have worked all over the state, and people always associate who you are with where you are from. I never once was ashamed of where I am from. I have always defended Caribou as the best place to live in the world. Hopefully you will continue that, so my feelings will be the same. Our family has been through a lot in the past couple of months, and as any of you who know us know what I'm talking about. I detest seeing my parents continually face challenges in life, some of which are very avoidable. My pride in Caribou may end up being the one thing that's put blinders over my eyes, as I would not have ever imagined the city being the biggest challenge I would face in business, not our competition. I feel betrayed by the city for the way this process has been and is continually being handled, and you have hurt my trust and my standpoint on being a business person in this community. Surely there are other parking options in downtown Caribou that can be or could have been considered to accommodate your new tenant with less impact to a single taxpaying individual. Thank you for allowing me to voice my opinions and thoughts, and I'll stand here and take whatever you want to throw back at me, I guess.
Out of the, I believe there's 64 parking spaces and that leaves 17. What would you feel would be how many parking spaces would you need to accommodate your business currently?
I would say that if we would have retained half the spaces in that parking lot, the ones closest to the building, would make the most sense for the front entrance. We're not asking for everything. We want to be a good neighbor. We want to share downtown, share the space, share everything. I look at the other city parking lots. Let's not talk about the Albert parking lot so that anybody in this town gets their knickers in a knot about it. Let's look at potentially behind the movie theater as being a city parking lot. They wouldn't have to cross Hatch Drive. They only cross Sweden Street. It's like directly across from the ATX building. How about the north, a portion of the North Mall parking lot, which I call the State Farm parking lot. I mean, I don't, if you know where I'm talking about, the North Mall parking lot. Why wasn't a portion of that divvied up for them to walk across that street into ATX? I mean, if you want to measure the distances, they're all about the same. I mean, some roads are safer to cross than others. I'm not going to get into all the safety of it. I mean, as crosswalks, people can cross the street. Crosswalks maybe aren't always the best spot, but I would say what would have been fair is for us to be presented at least with half of the spaces to maintain some sort of value and workability to our building. I mean, how many businesses do you know that you go in the back door in this town? How many businesses do you go in the back door? Really, when you go to a business, especially if you've never been there before. And so I think personally what would have been fair is first of all to come to us and say, okay, we're working on something and we need something that's going to try to work for everybody. And I think that my father would have been more than willing to try to work with somebody on this, but we feel this has just been in the dark, non-transparent. I find out about things in the local paper, and then I have to start digging, and what information I get is what Austin gave me for information, and I don't know where things are in the process. If this is just proposed, this is a public hearing. I've never seen a hearing advertised on what's required, but my thoughts are what we could get by with is probably 1/2 of the spaces in that parking lot, and I don't think that's unreasonable. Even then, with half that parking lot, we're still going to have the people that work there and see clients park in the back, which we don't have a problem with. But there's no way. I mean, with 16, I don't know if any of you have drove down by there since this has been out and you've taken a look at the cars or anything that's there. I mean, it's not even reasonable, not even reasonable at all. But I'm sure that my father would be willing to work, and if this could have been divided up differently with some other parking lots, I think it would have worked for us. But right now, it's not working for us at all. And we're up here pleading with you to say, hey, this is impacting us, and this is not going to work. And we're hoping that you're hearing us, that here we are. We've been here for 40, 80 years. We've been here for a long time. And we were planning on being here to stay. Like I said, I was always proud of Caribou, no matter where I went, and everybody asked me where I was from. Some people had their little chuckle because I was from Caribou. The misconception we were potato pickers up here, I never let that bother me, ever. I'm where I want to be. Anybody else?
Manager, would you care to address the so-called non-transparency of this deal?
Everything that's is happening, like the public hearing tonight, was adequately advertised as required under the city charter. There were some discussions that fell under the criteria of Maine state statutes for executive session, and those discussions were held as such.
Bottom line, Sitel wanted a guarantee of 100 parking slots to come to Caribou.
Yep.
That's what we were presented as a council.
Yep. And that's it? This 100 spaces, you didn't know where they were going to be or who they were going to impact, or I'm just curious. I'm asking because I don't know. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just asking.
I've known you long enough
I
to
know.
know when you're sarcastic. But I'll tell you my personal.
Yeah, just so I have an idea what everybody knows here. 'Cause I know nothing.
Yeah, here's me now speaking, not the city council, but my position was Herschel Street parking minus some spots for Wardwell. So how many in there? 65? 50 were sold to Sitel. Wardwell was given the option of leasing, leaving it as public parking, or purchasing the 15 lots. So he had those three choices. And he decided to purchase the 15 lots. He purchased them at a price reduced from what Sitel paid, because Sitel came to us, and this was kind of dropped in on him. And we gave him, did he accept that deal?
Correct.
Okay, we gave him 3 years to pay for those 15 slots, and the price was
$3,000.
$3,000. My supporting the choice for Office Park was, number one, I've never seen it full or near full. You have parking in the back, and that was why I supported it.
And you knew the numbers the entire time. You knew that we were losing 50 spaces out of that parking lot, and 15. I don't know when the last time there was less than 15 cars down there, to be honest with you. I really don't know.
How many of them were employees?
I'm not, I know some, I don't track who goes there. I mean, I know Kurt Tibbetts did at one time. We counted all the cars in the parking lots, and they were trying to do this one other time for the Albert parking lot, but so you really think that's realistic? Put yourself in our shoes, okay, as counselors. Put yourself in our shoes and pretend that's your building down there with a front entrance. And you tell me, how much sense that makes. That's what I'm going to say. You think it's the best option. You don't know. We're down there all the time. You know what I mean? You're conducting your daily business and doing your thing. And yeah, it's never been at max capacity. I mean, you understand how big it is. I'm standing here saying we can get by with less. Dad said we could get by with less the last time when we put out this proposal, and there's a bunch of misconceptions about it. And looking back, yeah, okay, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but you know what? I guess jamming that down my throat or what have you, because I'm staying up here trying to be reasonable, pleading with you, saying this is not going to work for us. It is not. It's a major impact. We have vacant space upstairs. You know a tenant that's going to move in there? Great. We'll talk to him. We'll move him in there. Okay. Then they look, we got a parking problem here. If it's a counseling type business or anything like that where they have a lot of people coming in and out, which it used to be, but it ended up adjacent to the Bird's Eye plant. I mean, we can't always control who comes and goes. My parents never had a hard time getting tenants. They were always lined up at our door. We never advertised. There was no internet. There was no nothing. I mean, we just never ever had trouble. Now with a tough market in Caribou, it's very difficult. We've had people, I told Austin, come into our spaces, solicit our tenants, trying to get them to move. Is it right? Is it legal? Is it illegal? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's not the way that business was handled around here. It was kind of more gentleman. So, Austin, I'm going to respond to your executive sessions and all your mumble jumble. It really don't mean nothing to me because I don't know what charters are. I don't know what this are. So
when you're negotiating,
I
with
understand.
somebody-
You can't tell Prescott, Sitel might be coming to Caribou,
Right, okay.
and then
why.
they're after him. But shouldn't we been involved? You know what I mean? With not so much say, hey, potentially we have a tenant coming that's going to encroach on you, on your building, and look, and Dad says, you know what? We reconfigure this. I can get by with 30 spaces or 34 spaces or whatever, something that was fair and reasonable. I mean, isn't even reasonable. Please look into a different option that might work better for us. I mean, this is not right. I wish we been involved and we could have had some input and helped. You know what I mean? It just helped. It isn't a little house we got in the way and you can tear it down and move on. This is a building that's here to stay. It's not something that's crumbling and falling to the ground. We take pride in our properties and we keep them up and they're nice and we plan on them being here for a long time. And I think it's unreasonable. 65 to 17. And I don't want to put a spin on things. But I do. I do want to put a spin on things. To me, there should be nothing done right now. It should all be being talked about. That's why we're staying here. The only thing that's done is Sitel's coming to town. Great. Told you, good job. That's awesome. Can't we find something that has less impact, especially on a single structure, single building? With all these public parking lots downtown, there's got to be another option than consuming 80% of our parking lot, whatever it is, your parking lot. I think that it's unreasonable. We will be good neighbors. We will work with whoever we have to work with, but we need a better guarantee on what we have and can secure for the value, for the long term, to put more tenants in the building. Our vacancy is probably at about 30% right now. I know that doesn't work on percentages, but 30 or 35% vacant. Our building is. You know, we're trying to attract business. This all happens. We show someone the property that drives down there in a month and a half from now, when that parking lot's full right and left, both sides, they're going to come down. They're probably going to keep right on driving and go see another landlord that can better accommodate. Especially because it's not our tenants. They will park in the back. It's the people that walk in for their appointments and so on and so forth. Like I said, I apologize for not having a car count or a head count on different days, but I don't think you should expect me to. You know, you're limiting the use of our building forever and ever and ever. So I really wish you would reconsider and rethink about things from our perspective. And like I said, I'll tell you all, great job. Austin, great job getting Sitel here. I see the LDA, one of the former members wasn't very happy, but that's all right. You know, you're always going to step on some toes and tick some people off. We've been here a long time. We're planning on being here for a long time. I really don't have plans to go anywhere, and I need it to be more workable for myself, for my future. I really do.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Catherine Anderson. I just want to address the parking lot not being full. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, I went to the bank to make a deposit. I'm a tenant at that building, and there was no place to park in front of the building. The parking lot was entirely full. So I parked out back, but I want to get into the numbers and the people that are there as a tenant. I've owned professional home nursing for 20 years. My organization services all of Aroostook County, and our only office is in Caribou at 7 Hatch Drive, where we've been for the last 19 years. Professional home nursing is one of 9 businesses that provide services out of Caribou Office Park building. My organization alone has 25 employees. We work all from that location, 7 Hatch Drive, all 25 employees. Now, those 25 employees aren't typically all there at the same time, but they can be. It does happen. Convenient parking is very important to me and to my professional staff as we come and go from the office throughout the day in order to provide effective services to our clientele. If the city sells the 7 Hatch Drive parking lot to an independent party, we will lose the majority of our parking spaces adjacent to the building from which we work. Professional Home Nursing is a reputable organization, and we've been proud to locate in Caribou, where 6 of our employees live and pay taxes, including myself. The other 19 employees come to Caribou to work and subsequently shop, bank, and purchase services. It would be unfortunate to us to have to relocate. So I do commend you for bringing new business into our community, but I think it's pretty short-sighted to do it at the expense of your current long-standing taxpayers and reputable businesses. Do you have any questions for me? No. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, public hearing closed at 6:39. What are the wishes of the council? Mr. Smith?
I guess, as they have asked possibly to purchase, or are asking more or less to purchase half of the parking lot, which would remove, in that case, would remove 17 spots from the other interested party, something like that, roughly out of the 100. I would be, my opinion, I wasn't here when the original parking lot issues were discussed prior to this. To remain 34 of those spots public property, because as of now, even if we leave the 17, the city, that'll allow the city manager to sell those 17 spots, and it would not have to come back to council for their approval. And my opinion would be to, out of those 64, leave half of those public spots and give the option for, obviously, there will be two parties interested in half of those remaining 17 lots, which would be Sitel and obviously St. Peter. And then we could come back and they would be able to have the opportunity to buy 17 or all 34 or a number of that. It will give you the opportunity to come back to the council to make a proposal, and if not, that's my opinion. So I guess that would be what I would propose, is that we retain half of those parking spots as public property and sell the remainder to the interested parties.
So, Jody, what do you mean by that, like retain half of them as a public parking lot, just to clarify,
Okay.
so that...
Well, I guess what it hears, there's 17 spaces that are left that have no interest, well, have not been asked to be purchased.
And actually, if I can just pipe in real quick.
Okay, yes,
Mr.
please.
St. Peter and I had, Phil St. Peter, sorry, I should clarify, and I had a conversation today about his interest in purchasing those 17 spots. So,
I didn't quite hear you, I'm sorry.
you expressed interest earlier today in purchasing those 17 spots, and that information hadn't been out to the council yet.
Okay. You did.
I tell you what I'd like to see, I wouldn't mind seeing, if we could purchase, as we go down that road it's not really a road, the spaces on the right side and the left side. It wouldn't be 17 again. I mean, it wouldn't be, it would be something like maybe 30 or maybe less. I don't have the map with me.
30 total?
30 total.
Joe, that parking lot, I'll come up so you can...
I would like to clarify exactly
That
this.
parking lot doesn't cut in half like that simply. And what my father's saying is what's left that we were trying to salvage that was on some sort of a vote sheet you had that come out on the site, on the Caribou site today. We talked about 17 available spaces on the right-hand side that nobody stepped up and showed interest in. So basically, we sent an email to Austin and said we have interest in those 17 spaces, and we also have interest in the remainder of the spaces in that parking lot. We don't need the whole thing. We want to help. We want to help bring Sitel to town. What my father is saying here, the 17 on the right, and there's probably 10 on the left-hand side as you first make the approach in the Caribou Office Park parking lot. Then it opens up to two long teardrops. One, the lower one, the longest, all the way to where Washburn Street stop sign is.
Okay.
And I think that what my father's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we will accept a little bit less than half if it'll configure the parking lot in a better manner. We would take the right-hand side, because we've already put a proposal out before, somebody else does. And what we'd like to see is the left-hand side as well. It's only partial down to the first teardrop. Then there's no left-hand side beyond that. It's the two long teardrops going out. I'm not big on diagrams and colored charts and stuff. But people that are on this council are from Caribou now, no downtown Caribou. If not, we should take a ride. But so that's what I think. And there was a diagram out. There's the aerial maps and stuff, the Google Maps, and you can see what the number of spaces. You can actually count them. It's good summertime photos. No snow obstructions and.
You're looking at 30 parking spaces is what you need.
I would say that's correct, right in that neighborhood.
There's actually 10 on the left-hand side, so it'll be the 17 plus the 10.
Yep,
27.
27. Can you live with 27?
27.
So 27, so that,
That's how easy we are to work with.
so 27, that leaves only, so that only leaves us, if I'm correct here on the math, only leaves us 10 spots to accommodate Sidel elsewhere, or however.
How many spots are along, you know, where all the, well, this will bring up another problem, but where all the Collins employees park, how many spots are along that?
Along the Washburn Road there.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, you get it?
A lot more than that.
There's about 15?
About 15 there.
Okay, I'll sit down.
Well, we've already got a deal with Sitel. Or do we? We do. So, was the deal made with Mr. Jalbert? Or is, I mean, could we sit down with Mr. Jalbert and the St. Peter's and wherever else we're going, and see if they would be amenable to giving up 10 slots, period, or trading 10 slots?
It was the corporate offices that we were working with. Mr. Jalbert's simply the site director. Now, he's expressed interest at the last meeting that he wants to be a good neighbor and work with people. If they were to come up with a solution on 10 parking spots, they could do that. The request from Sitel was for guaranteed parking for what we've provided them, or what we're discussing on providing them.
Yeah, because until we vote on this ordinance, we can't sell them anyway.
Well, I
either
wanted
way.
clarification on what was said here anyway. The ordinance allows the city manager to sell 17 spots if someone, I mean, the ordinance doesn't specifically speak to, the way this is worded here, I don't understand.
Right, the ordinance, as it is tonight, was last time as well, it discusses the map and lots that the council's authorizing to be sold,
Okay.
which includes all of the parking spots.
But I would hope that if any change is made, that it would come to the council for discussion.
Yeah, even on the 17 as it is now.
Right, everything needs to be approved by the council before anything can be signed off on. This ordinance is, as we've discussed previously, in executive session and in the public as well. So we've got all of the Herschel Street parking lot, which will be subdivided between the two people, and then this one as well, which will be subdivided with the 17 lots or spots that the St. Peter's have expressed interest in, and then the rest of the parking spots, with the 16-foot road, for a lack of a better term, that goes down there. It's not a public street, but 8 feet going to each party with an easement of 8 feet, so everybody has access to that street.
Mr. Anderson, you blew your chance, but I'll let you,
Thank you. My name is Kurt Anderson. I just have a question that I've been pondering. There is an awful lot of underutilized public parking in town. Would it be fair, or would you think Sitel would consider maybe utilizing some other public parking besides just one specific lot? I mean, I know there's public parking across the street and behind the theater, going down towards Napoli's and across from Collins. I mean, I'm sure they could come up with 12 or 15 spots or a portion of that lot that would satisfy Sitel's needs.
Sitel is going to request that their employees do not park on Sweden Street or Herschel Street, you know, so that those businesses don't get impacted. Robbie Jalbert seems to be a very reasonable person. Now, if somebody at corporate gets a hair, you know, wherever, it might be a problem. But, I mean, we can deal with Robbie and just not tell corporate.
Do they know where I mean, they're just guaranteed 100 parking spaces.
See, what they're going to do is they're going to have a sticker like a college would. So that way you guys can check, or I can check, or the police can check. We didn't want to get into policing parking lots. So they police them themselves. If they have a problem, they call police. So that's it. So if we see a bunch of stickers on Sweden Street, we can go to the site and say, would you guys, you have a parking lot, use it. And that's the way it was handled. But I know if we take that back wall at whatever it's called, we're gonna get a different group in here next time. But,
So are we less important? Just
no,
throw
no,
it
no,
out
no,
there, that's
no,
all.
no.
Throw it
You
out
were
there.
here the last time, weren't you? Or not?
Yes. I've been here quite a few times, and I always try to stay on the up and up with you guys.
That parking lot, I think that where you're talking about, the back wall, that parking lot is full.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you can stick any extra cars, because you have Cary Medical Center billing department, and that's 35 cars right there. You have Colleen Rosenall's Dance Academy, and that's packed at night, or from 3 in the afternoon till 9 at night. Usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so I don't know where you'd put any extra cars, and I sure wouldn't wanna see any overflow come into that lot. Because, as it is, people park in front of the businesses all day and don't give customers a place to park.
Well, that's 2-hour parking, is it not? So if you see somebody there for more than 2 hours,
It's not enforced, though.
call.
The
Say, do
back
your
wall
job.
isn't. The
Pardon?
back wall is all day.
Right,
Yeah.
but she's not talking the back wall,
Right.
she's talking.
Yeah, I'm talking in front of the
Just-
stores.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah. But is there a possibility that they can build a parking garage?
Parking garage,
Yeah.
Sitel?
Well, then they'd have their space.
There are a couple lots on Collins Street, and I've
Right.
mentioned this for 2-3 years now. I mean, if they're gonna get 550 people, they might wanna build a buy
gonna be more.
land on Collins Street and build a parking lot, I don't know.
Because I know some houses were torn down on that street, right?
Must be what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But we will request, well, can I do that? Well, let's see what the council's thinking
Hey,
first.
can I make one more comment too? And, because I understand where Debbie's coming from, these employees go there early in the morning and they take up all the parking as close as they can in between the malls to get into work. And it's funny that Kirk St. Peter was down here arguing up and down about what I call building number 2, used to be my father's as well, where the hospital billing department is. He had to have the Albert parking lot to park his employees there, and they all show up in front of Debbie's shop and park. You know, and where's Kirk tonight? I don't know. You know, I just need to have the people that work at his building park where they should park, where he come down here and fought for and made a stand for last time.
You probably have more pull with Kirk than we do.
No, Sam does, I don't. I won't say your last name.
Mr. Medina?
Just so everybody knows, everything that's been discussed tonight was discussed in our meetings, all right? And the parking lots that were chosen were the path to least resistance as far as providing Sitel with the required amount of spots that they wanted, okay? So if we start giving 10 more here, we're gonna have to find 10 more there, and we're gonna end up with the same situation. It's just gonna snowball down the street, down the street, down the street. We took up the north parking lot, we took up the Albert parking lot, we took up the parking lot behind where DNC or wherever that is, all over there, and there weren't enough. But when we put things together and the numbers together, that's where the luck of the draw was, so to speak. And that's why we chose those 2 parking lots. So we discussed it all already in council, so we didn't just come in here and say that one and that one. And we rationalized with all these same things that you're bringing forward. So you leave tonight and we make changes, the next group will be here tomorrow. You understand what I'm saying?
I agree with you
And
100%.
in order to try and appease the whole community and generate new economic development to the community, we have to do something. If we keep tying our hands because of these issues, where are we gonna go?
Okay, how about a small percentage from each business has to give with all these other vacant vacant space in these other parking lots? How about everybody gives up percentage? Why do we give up 80-something percent?
You're not giving up anything, the city is. Those are city-owned parking lots,
We
Clint.
built the building, and the
I-
city
I-
built the
I'm
parking
fully
lot
aware.
to
I know the
accommodate
history.
it.
I
You
know the history. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you know it, because a lot of people here don't know the history. It was important that you heard it. Mr. Martin, I know you do, Joan, I know you do, you know, there's other people here that don't know the history. And it's important that they found it out, and it's important they find out who we are. We're not the type to go
We
screaming
we understand that, but I want you to know that we just didn't sit here and just do that and that,
So,
okay?
so
We
who you
did
gonna,
go.
who you gonna pick on? You're gonna pick on Debbie is what your fear is, or?
No, I'm not gonna pick on Debbie. I'm not picking on anybody
Yeah,
anymore.
you
I'm
are, you're
done.
picking on us.
I'm done.
You're picking on
Okay.
us.
No,
Okay,
I'd
that
like-
was fun, but
Yeah.
let's get
No,
back to
I'd-
being nice to each other.
Yeah, I'd just like to say one more too, because I did have a conversation with Phil, and I did the same thing. I drove through the parking lots, I drove down there. There were many times I went down through Caribou Office Park. There were a car here, a car there, whatever. There weren't that many
Joan, you're not
in there.
serious, are you?
Yes, I am.
A
I
car here and a
am.
car there?
Yes.
Okay,
11 o'clock at
hold
night.
it.
In the-
Yeah,
in
11
the,
o'clock
uh,
at night or on Sunday.
No,
shouldn't
in
it,
the mornings
Go
and
down
the
tomorrow morning.
afternoons.
Wanna meet me down there tomorrow
And
morning?
there weren't many there.
I'll meet you down there tomorrow morning.
And go down around, and
That
there
wasn't
wasn't
even fair
that.
to say that, a
No,
car here and a car
there were not, there was almost nobody there in the front part of that section in there. There was nobody there.
Okay, everybody has their own perception of
But
this.
anyway,
Can we speak
Yeah.
with Sitel and see if something can be arranged so that they get 10 extra spots?
Or option to buy 10 extra spots.
We can always talk with them and see what could be worked out. I do want to caution the council that we do need to approve an ordinance if we're going to sell the building to accommodate their timeline.
But we can pass an ordinance allowing us to sell.
Right, the parking lots in the building were a package deal, and the council spent a lot of time looking at all of the parking lots across the downtown, looking at the Collins Street properties where a parking lot could be developed. And this is what the council at that time had settled on as what they wanted to move forward with. Changing the parking structure now,
Well,
I'm,
Yeah, but,
it could ruin the deal. It's possible.
yeah, but we kind of had a deal, and then they said, well, to complete the deal, we want parking. Is that not true?
They had expressed interest in the building and wanted parking as well.
This ordinance tonight is just for the 17 parking spaces, isn't it?
No.
No, this ordinance tonight is for the
Oh.
Herschel Street parking lot, the parking lot in front
Oh,
of the
'cause
Caribou
it-
Office
it
Park,
was-
and the building.
Oh, okay, because it was listed just these 17 spaces, so.
You mean every time we, excuse me,
No.
every time we want to sell a parking spot, we have to have a new ordinance?
According to city charter.
Oh, the last one too, yeah. Okay, these two, yeah.
That's part of the transparency and
I'd say
public
something
hearings.
about that, but I was on the Charter Commission.
The council would like to offer a charter amendment at the next election, we can certainly look into that.
Write that one down, yeah. Mr. Anderson.
What he just said, Manager Blease just said is a great concept. Sitel wants to buy a building and they want parking with it. That's the same thing these folks want. Same thing.
This may be totally irrelevant, but I lived in Bangor for 6 years, and we walked sometimes half a mile to get to the library. I mean, yes, this community is what it is, and I love it here, and that's why I'm here, but really, we're talking a matter of 20 feet here and there. Like, I don't know, I don't even park right in front of my door at my house. I walk from my garage to my house. I really don't think that any of the parking downtown is going to, you know, and as more businesses come in, you're gonna have to walk a few feet. Like, I don't know, I don't think it's gonna, again, could be completely irrelevant, but the more businesses we have come in, yeah, you fight for parking, you drive around sometimes, like, we're not used to that, and that may happen, and, you know, again, respect all these businesses here, but they're still city parking lots, and they're free, and a lot of places have to pay for their parking lots, so it's being plowed for everyone, the city owns it. I mean, I think as far as that, we need to kind of work together too, that, you know, parking might become an issue. Great, good, that means we'll have business in town. I'd love to have to drive around looking for a parking spot because Caribou's busy. I think it's a great sign, and if it's a matter of 20 extra feet to walk, I'm okay with that. So again, maybe that's completely irrelevant to everyone here, but it's just a thought. It's just
Councilor, so what I thought about that, didn't make much sense for like our tenants to park at the movie theater and walk across the street and say hi in the crosswalk to the Sci-Tel employees walking across the street in the other direction going to work. It just didn't make any sense to me. You know, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's hard because we're not attached to other buildings, so on and so forth. It isn't like we're, you know, sharing, we're not. It's a single structure, the parking lot that was promised by the city for us to build a building there at the time. That's why it's a little bit hard. We're willing to try to swallow a good part of this. I looked for half. My father's already relinquished and gone below half, down to 27 spaces. We're trying to be neighborly. We're trying to be friendly. We want this to work for everybody, but it has to be at least a little bit workable for us. We're gonna change the way we do things, there's no doubt, but we need to have a little bit more workable than what you're giving us. And I think that if you don't know where Caribou Office Park is, I ask all of you to get down through there tomorrow morning at 8:30, and you tell me there's a car here and a car there. You tell me that with a straight face.
And I'm sure that young, able-bodied people that are able to walk are fine with walking once in a while. It's healthy, it's good for us. But a lot of the people that come and go from that building are clientele. They're there for mental health, they're there for other health reasons, they're there to see the attorneys, they're compromised, they're not able to walk a block.
But do the employees park the furthest away from the building they can so that
Currently, we
the
do.
able-bodied?
But, I mean, it's not gonna be enough parking even for those people that come and go from our building. If all we have is 17 spaces, it's not gonna be enough.
The city stopped plowing, so I go down there on Sundays and nights, and I try to blow out the entrances until it's deal, because there's some SW Collins employees parked there. I try to keep it clean for them, and there's just a good mix of everybody. I go out there and do my thing to do my contribution to the city beyond my taxes I pay.
So what was the decision on asking Sci-Tel? Did we ever, to see if they would even question it, or if it's an option?
We haven't made a decision yet.
Oh, I didn't
You
know
want to
this
make a
was-
motion?
I guess, so what is the time frame on having this ordinance taken,
As per the city charter, an ordinance does not go into effect until 30 days after adoption by the city council. So that would put us at March 25th for this ordinance to actually be effective. So that would leave a wiggle room of about 6 days to
Could
pass
we-
an ordinance and have a closing.
Excuse me. Could we amend this ordinance? If we amend this ordinance, do we ever have another public hearing?
No, as long as you don't grossly change the substance of the ordinance.
So could we amend the ordinance so that we could sell
all but,
other lots, like the one behind the old, well, you wouldn't know, the empty building?
Courier building?
Courier, well, that's, I was gonna say Courier, but he wouldn't know that.
Is that the Dana Cassidy's building?
Yes.
if you were to amend,
If the council wanted to do that, the easiest way to do that would be to strike the words, "the westernly portion of,"
Okay.
because that is all lot 90 of the tax map.
which is, lot 90 is all of Hatch Drive, correct?
Right, because the parking lot actually goes across the street, and on the
And
tax
that's all.
maps, it's one parcel.
So make that motion.
I make a motion that we, how do I word it? That we make the ordinance include all of the Hatch Drive parking lots. Is that
So just,
strike out is what
yep,
you're?
so we want, your motion would be to strike the words, "the westernly portion of."
I make a motion to strike the words, "the westernly portion of Hatch Drive,"
So we have a
Parking lot.
motion to amend the ordinance.
to amend the
as
ordinance.
drafted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I just see, I see the same thing that Councilor McDonough's put forth here. You're just pushing that down to someone else.
Not really.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
There's other people that use those other lots.
Ah.
And you're just gonna have someone else in here.
No, listen. There's nobody in that Courier building. If we could sell 10 slots, out of how many on that side of the street?
I don't know right offhand.
50-ish?
There's 15, I think, across the front of the road.
if you're talking about the parking lot. across
Right, but the
West
whole
End.
parking lot,
Oh, there's at least 60.
There's gotta be, in that parking lot, there's probably 30
and,
spots.
and if we sell the ones away
Not
from
counting
the,
Not counting the movie theater part.
Not-
It's all
well-
paved out. If you're talking about frontage across from SW Collins, there's probably 35 spots.
and then there's up against the buildings.
Right. And of those 35 spots, I would dare say, at any given time, 6 of those are taken up by business and residents who live downtown, so.
And that's because of County Quick Print, 6 vans are lined up down there, we still got snow on them.
Exactly,
That could be parked someplace else.
exactly. They could be parked in the Alberta parking lot, for lack of a better term.
We let them park out back at Caribou Office Park, how's that? We like to be neighborly.
From a personal standpoint, for me, it doesn't make a difference whether I park across the street from the store or I parked over by Kitchen and Bath.
I thought you lived in, worked in Presque Isle? No. Oh.
Thinking Greg Easter.
Oh, okay,
But
yeah.
from a safety standpoint, I would much rather walk across the sidewalk than try to cross the road.
Are you instructed to park there? No, that's a different question. But I'm sure if we took 10 of those slots out of those 60, who's gonna complain?
Depends upon which 10 the council chooses.
Put them right behind the building that's empty.
You can't, there's handicap parking established there.
Anyway,
Fit 10 there. The deal that the council has, tentatively agreed to with Sitel includes the 10 parking spots there. If we're going to change the terms of that tentative deal,
we're gonna request a change.
and what happens if they say no?
Then we have a problem that's still gonna be out there.
No, this could blow the deal, right?
Well,
It has
we don't know about
potential. Who knows? It might not. They might be very amenable to something else, but it could.
Well, to me, if they're gonna be amenable to someone else, then they're gonna be amenable after this is already done. They're gonna work with the neighbors. They'll work with you guys, if that's what they're gonna do.
Right, and Robbie Gelbert, the site director, he's a good guy to work with. I think he'd be very neighborly and work with everybody. But the upper people at corporate that need to approve it, they might not see things as easily as the local people do.
We would have to amend the purchase sale agreement in order to affect what we're talking about doing right now,
Right, we
correct?
would have to, have an amendment to the purchase and sale agreement.
And this could effectively not happen.
That's a
We're
possibility.
just asking, I guess.
You wouldn't make a very good poker player.
But I don't want the deal to fall through either.
None
I
of us
think
do.
that if.
Nobody does. So.
I think if it could go as presented, and then they could work, Sitel could maybe work with the St. Peters to, do something.
That might be the best way to do it if we proceeded with the deal as presented.
Right.
And then tried to have Sitel work with the St. Peters to purchase those 10, and Sitel can come back at a later point in time and purchase a different 10
Right.
from the city.
Because if they intend to grow, like they said they want to grow, to 550 people, we're going to have some parking
Yeah,
problems.
that's in 3 shifts. That would be 3 shifts, I imagine.
You're
I
not
think
gonna
it's
have all
only-
550 people.
No,
there
no,
at the same
no,
time.
I know, but I don't think,
Right.
it's more, it'll probably be 2 shifts, right?
Yeah.
Because they aren't allowed to call past 9
Oh.
o'clock at night.
Yeah, they have different time zones.
Huh? Yeah, but even midnight, okay, would be 9 o'clock on the west, so they
We
wouldn't.
have a lot of incoming
Yeah, they're
service
not
now, also
outgoing.
24 hours a day sometimes.
But I thought it was
Incoming
just
A
2
possibility
shifts.
with some of the new
Yeah.
contracts.
And of course, the nighttime isn't gonna be much of a problem, but I don't think that we should amend the,
I guess we're amending it and we ask, and if they say no, then that's another
That's
situation. I mean, it doesn't necessarily blow the deal. Maybe, but maybe not, maybe not.
Why are you hesitant to discuss it with them?
No, we can certainly do it. My fear is when they say no, where do we go from there?
Well,
I
I
thought
would,
Robbie was gonna be neighborly, you said.
If it says no, then we'll have to, then we're back to,
Right, he's gonna be neighborly, unless Miles will be start up and be neighborly right up front.
yeah, but the
It's-
problem,
could be
Clinton, is
corporate.
that Robbie might not be there forever. So if we sell the spots to Sitel, and then the next management outfit that comes in is not so neighborly, you don't have your 10 spots. So you might have your 10 spots for 10 years, but then you might not. So that's why it'd be nice if we could trade with them.
Right, and it's not Mr. Gelbert that I'm concerned about, it's the corporate offices that have to sign.
And Caribou Office Park will be there forever. Just put new rubber roof on, masonry structure, it's a good building.
So,
Talking about 10 spots, it's proximity, Caribou Office Park, that's the parking lot they want, or they want, we're talking about, they want 100 spots, they don't care where they are.
well, right, but if it's 5 here and 12 there and whatever, but
Maintenance at that point would become an issue.
well, we could agree to maintain, put it this way, here's the sweetener. You give up 10 slots,
No. Let's stick with
remember,
what
we're
we
going
got
to,
going
we're
on
going
here.
to vote on this, Mr. McDonough.
Yeah.
You don't like it, you vote against it. But, I mean, we could make some deal where if you've got 10 spots isolated somewhere, the city will plow or something, I don't know.
But then other privately owned parking lots might
Yeah.
want to
We've been
have,
around that barn, haven't we?
right, and we might have that again.
with the,
Well,
where they, so we're gonna negotiate as opposed to them negotiating the 10 spots?
what I'm saying is if they say no, we have to honor our agreement with Sitel.
Okay, so we do this, we ask them, if they say no, we honor our agreement to Sitel, that leaves them 17 spots to purchase from the city, and then that would leave it up to them to negotiate
With Sitel.
the spots with the Sitel, does that make sense?
That's,
It does, it's just unfortunate we waste our time down here, because apparently it's way too late in the game, and that's why I talked about transparency, involvement, you guys can say what you want. Well, you know, and I kinda understand a little bit, I know why you want to hush and hide, but there's people that've been
Now,
here.
come on now, that is not,
Yeah.
we did not want to hush and hide here, okay?
You wanted Prescott to know you were bringing something.
We were not hush and hide, that's just how the process works,
Right.
okay? There's no hiding involved in that.
Were you impacting any
come
taxpayers
on.
in Caribou, maybe, possibly?
By putting $1 million valuation building back
Yeah,
on the
we are,
tax rolls, I
actually.
think we are.
Yep.
Okay,
And
so
the
our
government.
building's now unimportant because of.
No, it's not unimportant.
Yes, it is unimportant.
No, no one ever said this on that council. No one ever said that.
How did Rod Wardwell know about this? How did Rod know about this? Austin, you wanna comment on that? Might as well put the cards on the table, right?
I told you everything about
You did?
that, yeah.
How did he know? So you guys went and told him?
Same way you guys knew about that parking lot for sale for 3 times in a row. Same reason.
So Rod Wardwell had the chance?
No.
That's just
No.
wrong. What you're talking about,
That's
we're
not
talking about this
correct,
deal
that's
right
not
here.
correct. What- You wanna know what it is,
Yeah.
or you wanna talk?
All right.
The Herschel Street had never been offered for sale. So Wardwell had never had an opportunity to buy parking space. When the Sitel deal came in through, then now we're going to sell Herschel Street. He was given an opportunity to either keep 15 spots public, which he'd have to take his chances on putting his stuff, or lease it, or buy it.
So
And
you
as
just
I
found
said,
out- You just found out about this last Wednesday or the Wednesday before it was in the paper and
No.
he came to the city? No, I'm just asking.
no, he found
I
out,
think we have a right to know.
We have a motion on the table.
it's public knowledge.
It's public.
My motion was just to
I'm
eliminate
telling
the
you.
word strike through.
After the deal is done, Phil called me, and I said, we're having a meeting. I says, I can talk to you after the meeting.
Right.
No, you said after the paper came out, the newspaper.
Right,
Yeah.
right, whatever, and you never called back,
Yeah, that's right, you know.
but,
He forgets, but I remember.
You're good for 80 years old.
Has it been seconded also?
Tiffany seconded.
Yes, it's been seconded to remove the,
Okay.
that was my motion. Straightforward.
Westerly portion of.
Westerly portion, I have to strike that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Sorry, I was approved, sorry.
You voted yes?
Yes, sorry.
So it's 3 and 3,
Three, three.
3 to 3.
fails. It fails.
Motion fails.
It failed, did you say?
Fails.
I'll move that we pass the ordinance as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'll go with that, I guess. The other motion failed, as long as the 17 spaces that are in front of the building stay publicly owned, and we leave the rest that site that they're interested in.
Yeah, the public, the,
The 17 that are there, that are not.
Those will still remain public.
and
If
he
we
would-
were to receive somebody, if somebody stepped forward, like the St. Peters have, and asked to buy those 17
Then-
spots,
Right.
we could sell those 17 spots
We could sell
per
those,
the authorization under this.
per the authorization of the council.
If,
Or-
if you approve the ordinance as is, you're removing any chance that we can discuss with Sitel about swapping some slots. So you're making it easy for Sitel to say no because it'll never be asked.
If I may, the amendment to the ordinance offered by Councilor Smith would have allowed the sale of more parking spots than what we've already, than what
Okay.
we've previously discussed.
understand.
Which may or may not have been a bad thing, or may not have done something the council would have liked to sell more spots. But the ordinance as it is presented, it's just the westernly portion. The ordinance would allow the sale of all 64, 65 spots that are at that parking spot. The 35-ish for Sitel, the 17 that the St. Peters have expressed interest in.
Then yes, I'll strike.
Okay.
So where are we?
Wait.
Motion and a second to
approve the
To
ordinance.
approve the ordinance.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. Call Mr. Aiken.
Um, I would strongly encourage a motion to reconsider, which would have to be made by somebody on the prevailing side of the noes. I don't think this is an issue unless the council would like to call a special meeting for tomorrow or the day after to decide. I don't believe this is an issue that we want to let die in a tie vote.
Would the mayor be available for his vote?
How is there a prevailing side if it's tied?
The prevailing side is the no because the vote fails.
Right.
Okay, so which one are you talking about, the first one or the second one?
Second.
Even
one.
I don't think the council, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the council wants this deal to not go through because this ordinance does not get passed.
Right.
That's correct.
So I think the council needs to decide upon verbiage that everybody can agree to, or at least 4 of you can agree to, in order to make sure that we can sell this building to Sitel and bring 150 jobs into downtown Caribou.
You voted no? You voted no, you want to reconsider?
Would be Smith, Stewart, and
Me.
Martin.
Tiffany, do you want to make a motion to reconsider and discuss this again?
Yes, I make a motion that we reconsider this.
Seconded?
Yes, I'll second it.
All those in favor? Okay, all right. Any suggestions, Mr. Manager?
Outside of the amendment offered by Mr. Smith, to include the sale of the entire parking lot, I'm not sure what a better option would be at the moment. If we include the entire parking lot, at least that would give us the leeway to add 10 spots in a different spot. I think if we were to amend the ordinance to include a different parking lot outside of the tax maps or the lots already mentioned, that would change the scope of the ordinance and require another public hearing. If the council wanted to do that, it would push, that ordinance would push back the closing date. An emergency ordinance could be introduced. I would not recommend that. I don't want to rush into anything like that. I don't think that's good public policy to make that way. Outside of the amendment that Councilor Smith has already offered, I don't know if there's a better option.
Councilor Terrio, why are you opposed to maybe a swap of 10 slots?
I'm not opposed to a swap, okay? What I'm opposed to is putting this deal in jeopardy. I think that it should go along with that we agreed with Sitel, and then Sitel, their people could work with Mr. St. Peter and perhaps do something then. But the last thing I want to do is put at risk this deal to come into town and bring all these jobs.
But if proposing to somebody something that they don't like, they can say no, and if that puts a deal at risk, well, they're not the happy people they say they want to
Yeah,
be.
but
It's just a proposal. If they say no, that's it.
no, it's go along with this and then let them do their,
Mr.
let them do
McDougal?
their,
Yeah, I mean, I have a strong opinion or a feeling that Sitel would work with them
Right.
to swap the 10 spots over here. I don't think that needs to be hashed out right here. I don't see why that would. Well, let me finish. I don't see why that. The sale of this, it gets it clean through, it gets it moving. We do need the jobs in the community, and I don't think that is going to really cut this deal.
But they don't have 10 spots to swap. We do.
They don't have any spots to swap.
Right. So what are they gonna bargain with?
actually, they do. They have parking in the back of their building. They own that parking lot in the back of their building.
It's
that
not
they
an
can
entrance.
swap.
I think what the proposed amendment would do, I guess it's still proposed at this point, would let us. It would give us the authority to sell that parking spot. If the St. Peters were to approach Sitel and say we would like to purchase 10 parking spots, these 10 parking spots, and it would be up to them to negotiate a deal on a price per lot or spot. It'd be between those two. Sitel could turn around and say to the city of Caribou, we would like to purchase 10 parking spots at this location, whatever 10 spots they would like. And at that point, we could bring that back to the council for approval. But really, it would, if we go to Sitel and say, would you accept 10 different parking spots? I think the council needs to decide tonight which 10 those are going to be. I don't think they want to leave that up to staff. B, we would need to have, if they said no, we would need to go through it, and Sitel would have the St. Peters would have to work with Sitel to buy those 10 spots.
Right.
We would have to determine which 10 tonight.
Which 10?
10 along Washburn Street. Or what's it called, Hatch Drive. 10 along Hatch Drive. Pick 'em. Most likely closest behind the theater, maybe. All they can do is say no.
Yep. If those are the 10 along Hatch Drive, if that's what the council wishes to offer up as a replacement 10 parking spots, that's what we will offer up.
One of you wish to make that a motion?
I will. I'll make that a motion that we offer up the 10 spots. In lieu of the 10 spots across the street.
I think we're jumping ahead of ourselves
Is
here.
that what the-
I think we need to have a motion to amend the ordinance once again.
The motions, okay. Okay, originally, the original
Right,
motion,
Your original motion,
to strike out the,
right, so it would strike the westernly portion of. I think
once
that's-
more, I'll make that motion, and then if it fails, then, well, we're done. I'll make a motion that we strike the verbiage of the westernly side of Hatch Drive.
So we're going back to the motion that he made that failed a few minutes ago.
Which is just that.
The one before the last failure.
Because the council had a motion and a second to approve the ordinance, and that failed on a tie, or on a 3-3 vote. Therefore, we had to have the motion to reconsider, which brought the ordinance back to life. Now we're discussing the ordinance in its entirety, and amendments can be offered to it.
Okay.
Does that require them to re-sign an agreement?
The amendment to the ordinance would not require. The amendment, this is two separate issues. The amendment to the ordinance gives us authorization to sell all of Lot 90.
Or part?
Or a part. Well, it gives authorization to sell the whole thing. We do not have to sell the whole thing. So that is one motion that the council needs to consider. The second topic that the council needs to consider is offering a different 10 spots to Sitel in lieu of the 10 spots that the St. Peters are interested in. So it's two separate issues. One is the ordinance that needs to be adopted. The second is what are the other 10 spots the council's willing to give up.
Okay, I'm confused. Didn't we just adopt this ordinance?
No.
No.
Well, she made a new motion.
She made a
To-
motion to reconsider the
Oh,
ordinance.
reconsider,
So
okay.
it brought it back to life.
Okay,
Otherwise,
so
it would have
now we're
been-
gonna, okay. So now we've got to,
Square one.
back to square one,
Right.
okay.
So is there a motion on the table?
It's been moved and
Hasn't been seconded.
I made a motion.
But you're amending it though, right?
No, I'm going back to the original.
The original one right
Which
here.
was-
His
Strike out the verbiage.
original.
His original.
My original
Yeah,
one,
so he-
strike
Not
out the
this.
verbiage,
So,
separate issue, strike out the verbiage, allow us to sell one apiece or whole of the parking, the whole hatch lot
So-
parking drive, the westernly side, correct?
So the motion on the table is to amend the ordinance to strike the words "the westernly portion of."
Which is my original motion.
which was his original motion, which could have a problem with the Sitel deal.
No,
Still give
I
it
would disagree with that, because this
Okay.
simply allows us to sell more of a parking
More
lot
of
than we
it,
had thought.
okay, okay.
It doesn't change that deal at all.
We have nothing in the purchase and sale with Sitel about exactly where the spots are
We do.
located.
We do.
We do.
We do.
So
And that
then we
is
need
where
to
we would
adjust
have to
that.
have an amended purchase and sale. They would have to agree to an amendment of the purchase and sale. But that issue is separate from the the need for this ordinance to be adopted, so we
Right,
can sell.
right. Just don't want to delay the.
Right.
So by adopting this ordinance as he's proposing, is not gonna,
No, because the original tentative deal that we have with Sitel is still there. The
And
parking
that's-
spaces would still be the same.
okay.
So passing this ordinance simply facilitates the sale, as we've already discussed. If the council wishes to change or try to change the terms of that sale, that would be a separate motion after the approval of this ordinances, or after this ordinance is decided upon.
did we have a second to that motion?
No.
What is the westerly portion of Lot 90?
That would be,
Again,
the westernly portion would be the side right next to 7 Hatch Drive.
so the 17 spots or the whole?
The whole,
The whole thing?
the whole, all
Less the
65,
17 slots?
all of them.
Okay, so I want to take that out of my, school, okay.
So it's
The parcel
all of it.
consists of 2 lots on either side of that road.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, all right.
The westerly side is the parking lot in front of the business park.
Correct. The entire park.
The entire, yep.
And now what we're doing is offering up a portion of the
second?
north parking lot that we changed the other day.
Correct. Yes, that would authorize the sale of a portion of that parking lot. Correct.
Okay.
Can I second his motion?
I don't see why not.
Tiffany, second it and let it die or pass.
All right, I'll second the motion then.
Any
Go
more,
from there.
thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes. Don't put this meeting on YouTube, please.
Ah, there goes transparency.
Okay, so now we need a motion to request a swap of 10 slots. Is that what you're saying?
That's what the council would like to do.
Well, after all that trouble, I think that's what we want to do.
Yes, I'll make a motion that we ask Sitel if they're willing in a swap.
So, I gotta say, what's the difference between that and what we first started out at? Can I ask that question? Nothing?
Yes, it's different.
It's called a confusion factor.
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, as he said, they don't have anything to swap with.
Go ahead.
We don't sell it, so that's all.
Which 10 spots? The ones right along the Washburn Street or
Along
Hedge
Washington
Drive?
Street.
But we have to decide what, I mean, do we have to decide this tonight? Can't this be
We
something
should.
that we do later
We
after
decided
they?
tonight either way, I would think, but.
If we're going to ask Sitel to agree to an amendment to agree to amend the deal, I'm not comfortable picking 10 parking spots on my own. I would want the council to pick which 10 parking spots they want to.
And this would have to be done tonight, because we've got a committee meeting tomorrow with highway protection, which the parking lots are gonna be one of the subjects.
Yeah.
But isn't what we just voted on, that gives you the option to sell that parking lot now?
Anyone.
But he's not comfortable picking the 10 slots.
I understand that.
But couldn't you,
It does give you that option. It doesn't mean that we need to agree to spots. And again, I'm going from my same idea that Sitel is gonna work with the other tenants. That's where I stand on that, so.
Before we close on a sale of the property, they're gonna wanna know which 10 spots. And I would guess before they would agree to a modification of the tentative deal, they would wanna know what 10 parking spots they're gonna get. And the maintenance of them.
Why don't we leave it open to you in case they want spots that we didn't pick?
or,
And we'll trust you.
or let them perhaps?
Show them the map.
That could
Any
be a
sale
way.
of parking lots will come back to the council. I'm not going to make that decision on which spots to sell or not to
We
sell.
don't want that to come back to,
I don't think the council would
you have
want.
to pick the 10.
So did you make a motion to sell 10 lots on Washburn?
Yeah,
facing
but which
Patch
10? I
Drive?
just said, it's which 10?
The most left, the most right.
Okay, I'll go with that. The 10 in the backside, which
So
is,
Behind the theater? Not, but on Hatch Drive?
So the
People
the
mad at you.
most 10 southwesternly parking spots. So it'll be along the
Where
Hedge
there,
Drive.
where there's hot top.
Yep.
You can't just say to be determined?
That's not what the manager wants.
Yeah, but then if we could meet and even look at that tomorrow, and then give you a,
I think if we're gonna pick them, we should pick them, should pick them tonight.
Is there any reason why you can't get together with Sitel and St. Peter's and discuss this? And then come back to council with an option or options? That doesn't delay this process.
As long as Sitel is willing to agree to a modification. I think we can still sell the building, have that completed before April 1st, which is the date we need to have that done by. The sale of the parking lots is not as pertinent. I mean, it's not as of a rush to get those sold. We can try and sit down with them and see if they're interested.
It's just a matter of actually negotiating to see if they're willing to do that.
Right.
And if they're not willing to do it, they're gonna get the property regardless.
Unless the council wants to cancel the purchase and sale deal.
I don't think that's
No,
gonna happen.
no,
No.
absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the only way I can see it. that-
I don't wanna cancel.
Again, it doesn't seem like it's a rushed decision here. I'm trying to figure out,
Right.
Right.
there seems like there's some time for them to negotiate and be neighborly and try to work that out. And if Sitel doesn't want to, well, that's just the way it is, I guess. I mean, I think we can honestly say that we've done due diligence there.
They're gonna get their 100 slots. If they want it to leave it as it is, then that's what they'll get, if they're willing to negotiate, okay, but I don't think we need to pick the 10 spots tonight.
We can bring it back to the council in March, an amendment to that. No, that's gonna cause problems. The parking lots in question to be sold have already been surveyed. They've already had phase 1 environmental studies done on them. Modifying the parking spots would require new survey work, new phase 1s. That takes time.
Well, just ask them to give up 10 slots until we find them 10 others. I mean, we're making this difficult.
Yeah, by piecemealing it out, you are making it difficult.
It's getting very complex, that's for sure.
Well, that's why I just,
Fire building, Mayor.
If Sitel expands enough, you might.
There you go. Now the city will want them somewhere else.
Did anybody second your motion?
Don't believe so, and the motion was just to ask Sitel if they're willing to swap and do not want to in any way just potentially disrupt the purchase sale agreement, just a matter of asking. And if there's any other problems, then that's it.
Do you need a motion to go ask Sitel?
Isn't that what
There's a motion on the floor to approach Sitel with an amendment to the purchase
Okay.
and sale.
Anybody wish to second that? I'll second it. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. Agenda item number 6, nuisance property ordinance.
On the following pages is the nuisance property ordinance, a book that planning board has been working on for the past several months. The board took a lot of time to go over the ordinance, solicited feedback from residents and landlords over the time frame. Voted to pass this ordinance on to the city council with the recommendation for passage. At the public hearing held by the planning board on February 4th, no members of the public spoke in regards to this ordinance. The ordinance will allow the city to better protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city of Caribou by reducing the recurrence of nuisance conduct in dwellings that disturbs the peace and tranquility of others. The ordinance was introduced at our last meeting. Public hearing is scheduled for tonight. The council needs to hold a public hearing. They may act on the ordinance after that.
Open a public hearing at 7:40. Anybody from the audience wish to speak to this issue? Public hearing closed at 7:41. Council. Discussion.
I move that we accept the ordinance as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I would first of all like to commend the planning board and all our landlords and civilian population and the rest of the city staff that participated in this. There was a lot of work in it, tedious, a lot of input, and it didn't go over lightly. I mean, they were questioning commas, periods, and question marks, and so on and so forth. I think they did a good job.
Anything else? All those in favor? Unanimous. Other business? Anyone?
Putting the tax
Number
acquired-
7, putting tax acquired property out for bid. We have 4 properties listed, I think.
Correct. These have all been out to bid previously. They're going with council's approval, they'll be re-advertised at a lower minimum bid. We hope to bring them back to the council on March 9th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Anyone have other business?
Just the meeting tomorrow, 10 o'clock, for the highway protection. That's Jody and Bill and anybody else that wants to come also. And it's here, 10 o'clock.
Anyone else? Other business? We have a regular city council meeting March 9th at 6 p.m., regular council meeting March 23rd at 6 p.m., and we have a council workshop starting 5 minutes after this meeting, which is open to the public.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Adjourned.